Hello, folks. Welcome to the Manly Pinterest Tip Show. I'm Jeff C., and you're not. I am so excited for you guys to come today on this special day that we're doing the show. I'd like it if everyone would go to head over to manlypinteresttips.com, subscribe to our email community. That way you'll never miss one of these great shows with these great guests that we have. I'm excited today to introduce Miss Eileen Smith. She's a blogger with a variety of interests, including marketing, graphic design, music, networking, finances, and so much more. And her philosophy of life is to keep an open mind and allow the creative juices to flow. Her blog, Basic Blog Tips, covers blogging tutorials, tips, guest posting, YouTube, podcasting. It's a great resource. So whether you're a beginner or pro blogger, there is so much to learn from Miss Eileen Smith. Eileen, thank you so much for being part of the show today.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to be here, Jeff. Thanks, and hi everyone. Thanks so much for spending your Sunday with us.
Yes, thanks so much. And if any of you guys have any live questions as I'm talking with Eileen, make sure to enter those questions in the comment section, and we'll try to get to them during the show. Eileen is just a gem and a jewel. She's one of the nicest people I've met online. She actually, what got me connected is I had a question one time, and she sent me a private video that she made for me, special, to help me walk through something. And ever since then, I have been a huge fan of Eileen Smith. So I'm really stoked to have you on the show. So thanks so much again. The first question I want to dive into, Eileen, is I want to know kind of your backstory and how you got involved with social media and specifically blogging.
Well, the story, I never get tired of telling the story, okay, because in this story, my daughter, her name is Nikki, she's the hero of the story. Well, it started because I've been in publishing. I actually work, my full-time job is with a technical book publisher. So I used to get online mainly to do stuff like looking up movies on Internet Movie Database and Wikipedia and stuff like that. So one day, my daughter says to me, "Mom, I started a blog." And I was like, oh, I'm thinking, oh my God, I got to subscribe to her blog, but I didn't know how to subscribe. So I went to her blog, and I'm trying to subscribe. I'm filling out all this information, and next thing you know, I signed up for my own blog. And this was back on WordPress.com back in 2009. And back then, there wasn't that many tutorials to really show you how to use the platform. So what I did was, since I had this blog now and I just felt so empowered, I felt like, okay, as I learn things, I'll write about them on the blog. And that's kind of how I found my niche of doing tutorials and teaching people how to write blogs, because it just came so natural to me, and I really enjoyed it, and I always got so much positive feedback. So that's really how I got into it.
Wow, that's a cool story that you signed up accidentally because of your daughter. That's pretty funny.
I'm blogging by accident.
That's great. That's great. Well, there's a lot of small business owners who watch this show. So, kind of a general thing. Why should small business people have a blog? What's the benefit of that?
Well, for a blog is a great way, whether you have just a brick and mortar store or any type of a business. It's great to have a blog because it constantly will help you connect with your customers and your potential customers. It'll give them a place to find you online. And let's face it, these days, people are constantly online. They're constantly connected with their phones. And, they're not spending that much time watching TV like we used to back in the day. So having an online presence for a small business, no matter what type of business you are in, is really important.
Yeah, that's great. And we're gonna dive into some little more in depth of how you can do that a little bit later in the show. I see you on Pinterest almost daily, and so what really drew you to Pinterest? What was the kind of attraction there?
Okay, there's a story behind that too. It started kind of, well, let me just give you a little bit more of background.
Sure.
When I did start blogging, I've quickly found out that being a member of a community is extremely important. So one of the first communities that I joined was Blog Engage, and to this day, Blog Engage is one of my favorite blog communities. So I would try different communities as time went on, and about 2 years ago, my friend Ann Smarty and Gerald Weber, they started a community called Viral Content Buzz. And it's similar to Triber. Triber is another community that Jeff and I both belong to.
Right.
It's similar to Triber, where you can have your content submitted and people will share it. But one of the sharing options that's unique to Viral Content Buzz is Pinterest. And so you have to enter the URL of the image that you want pinned.
Right.
And I wasn't really paying Pinterest that much attention as far as blog traffic goes. I was on Pinterest and all that, but once I started using Viral Content Buzz and the members there were pinning my stuff, that's when I started noticing the traffic. And the traffic was climbing. It was like Pinterest was number 12, and then it creeped up to like number 8. And then it creeped up to like number 4, and I think now it kind of flip-flops between number 3 and number 4 of traffic sources for my blog. And I just absolutely love Pinterest at this point anyway. I'm kind of addicted. But you also mentioned about me being on Pinterest a lot. And one of the reasons, actually there's 2 reasons that I'm able to be on Pinterest as much as I am, and they are 2 scheduling tools that I use to schedule pins. And the first one is Ahology. Now, I don't know if people are familiar with Ahology, but it's one of those deals where you kind of have to get accepted. It's a smaller community, and it's really great for food bloggers and fashion bloggers, but for me, the true benefit was that I was able to schedule my pins, and I could pick my own scheduling time, or I can use their predetermined, I guess they have an algorithm that determines the posting time.
Right.
So that was number 1. Then Tailwind app, and you had Daniel on a couple weeks ago, and he told people that they could get in touch with him because it's in beta.
Right.
But Tailwind app has an awesome scheduling tool. I love Tailwind app, and you can also really see who's pinning your content, you know, what content is really popular coming from your blog, and they also have a content discovery piece there on Tailwind app as well. And so I have done a video about Tailwind app.
Very cool. Very
cool.
So
yeah, I really, and that had, like you said, it keeps me there. It looks like, wow, where'd she get that great pen from? You know, and I love that.
Yeah, I just, ever since we had Daniel on last time, been playing with the scheduling thing, and I am just addicted. It is so cool. And so anybody who wants more information on that, make sure you go back and watch that show, because he does a great job talking, one, of just Pinterest analytics in general, but then also that offer of getting in and getting those scheduling pins, because I really like it that it kind of tells you when the best times for you to pin, kind of help you get set up. And then that content engine, it's still a little buggy. I mean, I've tried some things, and it still kind of is buggy a little bit, but it does kind of help you find some great content to pin. You want to make sure you check your links and everything, but also, but it's a really great tool. So, you know, everybody, if you're a blogger, everyone's saying get on Pinterest now because of the traffic, and that's really the reason I really started too. Is I was noticing, just like you, number 3, number 4, now it's up to number 2 and 1, usually flip-flops for me. But what are some things, some other tools that you mentioned 2 of them? Are there any other tools that you use specifically for Pinterest when you're working?
Yes, I do. And one is called Post Planner. And I did a video about this, but I didn't go into the details of how I use it off of Facebook, because most people, when they think of Post Planner, you think of Facebook. But Post Planner has a module in there for viral images. So you can see a list of, you can type in your keywords. So it's not just, for social media people. So no matter what line of business you're in, you can type in your keywords in Post Planner, and it will show you the most viral images that were shared on Facebook. And I guarantee you those same images will do well on Pinterest. It's also a great way to get ideas. Sometimes you don't want to really just pin someone else's stuff. You want to make your own images, and Jeff will post a link. I put together a little bit of a goodie package for everybody who's watching today and whoever watches the replay. Just as a thank you, I put together a goodie pack for where you can find some free, royalty-free stock images, so you can make images, but you can get ideas of, like quotes and things like that you can pair with those images. And I also gave you some examples of some images that I've done in the past. Feel free to reuse them. You have to get into the concept of cross promotion. So like I'm bringing up Post Planner, and even though that's a Facebook app, it's great to find images not only for Pinterest but also for Instagram. And you can take those quotes that you find there and pair them up with some of those royalty-free images that I gave you the resources for, and that way you can use them for your industry, because like I said, no matter what industry you're in, there's always a great quote. Just type in Google quotes about widgets or whatever it is that you do, and you're going to find quotes. Now, there's one more tool that I want to talk about, and that's BuzzSumo. And I'm actually working on a series of videos about BuzzSumo because you can do a lot of things. But one thing you can do with BuzzSumo, you can take your blog, or I don't like to use the word competitors, but I'll say it for the sake so that everyone knows what I'm talking about. Right. Your competitor's blog or any top blogs in your niche, put that URL in BuzzSumo, that's BuzzSumo, and you'll see the top pins from that site. And there's a whole lot more you can do with BuzzSumo, but when you see those top pins, you either repin that image because you know it's popular, because tons of people have already pinned it, or you use it to, fuel your ideas. How can I make something similar? How can I make something that's related to that? And then that way, that will get you some repins, and you can use those for your blog post images or whatever. So those are two tools that really, to me, work hand in hand, Post Planner and BuzzSumo, when you're talking Pinterest. Very cool. Well, I wanted to pull this up real quick from Mike, and so you're impressing people already. He goes, "Hi, Eileen Smith. I started following you on Pinterest." So he likes all your tips already. I will follow you back. So anyway, your point about cross promotion and Pinterest is great for fueling ideas. But what I found lately is I'll because I'm mainly Pinterest tips, I'll do a manly quote from like John Wayne or something like that, make it look really cool. But the cool thing is it works on Pinterest, but also you can resize it or crop it a little different, and you can use it on Instagram, which is great for quotes, and even Facebook, your Facebook page. So I really encourage people, just like you brought up, Eileen, is to really think about not just one spot. Where can you use this? Try to reuse everything the best you can, and you'll really get a lot more mileage out of it. One topic I wanted to talk about real quick, have you really noticed, because you blog a lot more than me and you've been blogging for a lot longer, have you seen your Pinterest, the articles that you've pinned on Pinterest pop up later, have the longevity of your articles really helped, that you say, hey, I posted that like a year ago and it's popping up again on Pinterest? Have you seen that? Yes, it is. I see that quite a bit because, like I said, the people that are pinning, for the most part, they're really active on Pinterest, so they have a lot of followers. And then there's also the group boards. But I want to suggest for anyone, if you're finding that, okay, well, that doesn't happen for me. I posted something 6 months ago and nobody ever posted again. You know, let me just give you that advice. Let me encourage you. There may be some things that you may want to post once every 2 or 3 weeks. Now, you don't want to post it every day or,
Right.
you know, every week, because then your followers are going to be like, okay, there she goes posting that thing again. But, you know, give it some breathing room, and that's why these scheduling tools come in really handy. And, you know, post your images a second time. There's also another strategy that I talked about on a blog post where you have old content in your archives. And you know the content's good, but maybe it's just not getting attention, or maybe it is getting attention.
Right.
But, you know, back then you weren't, like for me, back then I wasn't paying, you know, my images that much attention. I just put a stock photo in there and call it a day. But
Right.
then it doesn't really give people an idea of what that pin is about. So we go back to those old blog posts. Don't necessarily remove those images, but add another image. Now that you're going to be learning a little bit more about how to create great images, you know, because you're going to be emulating what you see others doing, and you're also going to be using some of those free stock image sites that I passed on to you. And there's also some tutorials on that resource sheet for Canva and PicMonkey. So create some images. I did that for about a month and a half. I just went back to my top content because I have over 500 posts on my blog.
Wow.
So I went back to some of those gems and just concentrated on making better images for those posts. And I posted as a second image because I didn't want those pins that were already out there to, you know, like, that's not the image there. So I just added another image to the post, and that's another way that people can, you know, revive those old blog posts.
That's a great piece of advice. I know that's a strategy that Peg Fitzpatrick and Rebecca Radice do as well. I've noticed that. I'm thinking it's all new, and it's going back to their content, which is a great strategy because some image may apply to another person. They may be attracted to it more than something else, and so that's great. That's great advice. And also, you talked also about have multiple images that point back to the same content. Just kind of change them up a little bit. Elisa Meredith talked about that also on the Hanging
Right, she sure did.
And so I never even. She has like throughout the month, you know, like a new one every week that she does for a client, which I never thought of. I thought about maybe redoing it, but not having a bunch of pins going back to one piece of content, which I thought was just a great piece of advice. So,
because you want to know what resonates. That also is going to give you insights to what resonates with the people that are following you. Remember, you're getting new followers all the time.
Right. Yeah, you touched on a little bit. You talked about group boards. When you're starting as a blogger, you know, you mentioned, you know, it's great to get in like things like Triber and the one you mentioned. Group boards are kind of work that same way on Pinterest. Do you recommend jumping into group boards when you first get on Pinterest, or do you like to sit back and recommend, you know, let's see what's going on first, and then I'll start getting invites, or how do you usually handle group boards?
No. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait.
Okay.
The thing is, back to what I said about cross-promotion. You have friends on other social sites. I mean, you're probably using Twitter. You probably have Facebook. More than likely you have Facebook. And if you're here watching now, I'm sure you have Google+. So you have a circle. You already have a tribe of people that are like-minded and may be interested in the same things. Ask them if they have a group board. Start your own group board. You know, that's another resource that I put in the resources list, is starting your first board on Pinterest. And all you need is that person. If they're following you and you're following them on Pinterest, you can invite them to your board. And if you have their email address, you know, just email them. and find out if you can join their board. If you see a popular board, a lot of times people will have in their description, you know, contact me. They'll put their email address and so forth in the description of the board. So get in touch with the person that way. But I think that starting off with your existing tribe, the people that you're already hanging out with, you may not know that they're on Pinterest. In fact, I did this just the other day. I have a Facebook group, and I just asked everybody. They were happy because in my group I don't let them post links. I was like, "Are you on Pinterest? You know, post your link." And it was like, "Oh, I got a whole lot of engagement on that one." So, and it was great. It was cool because a lot of those folks I was not following on Pinterest, but here they've been in my group for the longest. So you just have to outreach. You just have to ask people. You know, I'll tell you groups that I have, group boards that I have. I have one that's called Pinterest for Bloggers.
Mm-hmm.
I do have one on fashion and style because my daughter that I mentioned earlier, Nikki, she has a fashion blog, chicrenegade.com. So we pin to that board. So I have a few, there's social media expertise. There's a few boards that I have that are group boards. So if anybody wants to get in on any of those boards, oh, my YouTube one, and that makes we can segue over to the YouTube question. So anyway, I have a group board for YouTube and podcasting, in fact. So let's just go back, Jeff. We were talking in the green room, and we wanted to touch on YouTube. You know, pinning your YouTube videos. And I am doing that. And what I do is for every YouTube video, in fact, I posted a video this morning, and it was about how to use the video editor on YouTube.
Right, I saw that.
I always make a custom thumbnail for my videos. And I use a tool called Tube Slicer. It's one of the slicer apps.
Is it tubeslicer.com? Is that where you can go?
Yeah, you can go there, yes.
Okay.
And with the Tube Slicer, you know, it gives you a couple of templates that you can also use to craft that custom thumbnail. And with the custom thumbnail, there's a little trick that I learned to get that URL for that custom thumbnail. So even if you just want an image instead of just the video, the actual video there, you can test it both ways. You can test it with just posting the image or with actually posting the video. I find that there is some watch time going on Pinterest for my videos, but I think more people are actually clicking through to YouTube to watch the videos than watching them on Pinterest. So
yeah, that's interesting because you know Cynthia Sanchez from Oh So Pinteresting, she likes to make a portrait kind of normal looking Pinterest pin that points back to her video, and I'm kind of going back and forth. I still think people like to see that play button, then it looks like a video, and they're kind of accustomed to hit that button. So to me, the jury's still out which one works better. I'm still testing both ways, and I'm not sure.
Hey Jeff, here's something you can do. I did this on a couple of the ones that I pinned. Put a pin button on your image. I'm sorry, a play button.
Okay.
Okay, just download from the icon archive. I forgot to put those little icons. I can give you that link.
Okay.
And you know, there's all kinds of YouTube logos, and there's play buttons. So test it out. You know, use the portrait style, but then even with that portrait image, right over top of where your face is, or you know, next to the words, put the play button so that people will know it's a video, even if they don't read the description.
Right.
To know that it's a video, and test it out and see if that makes a difference. You know, sometimes, you know, it's always great to take advice from the pros and the experts, but what's even better, do your own tests. Right. Trust me, some things that I thought never would work because everybody said that won't work. I tested and I was like, it works for me.
That's right. No one said the Manly Pinterest Tip show would work, and it's working. So.
Hey, I wasn't one of. Hey, just for the record, I wasn't one of those people. I knew it was.
Hey, we got a question. I want to jump back from our audience, from Kim. She has a question about group boards. I want to just kind of go back real quick to answer this question.
Okay.
She goes, when you pin something on a group board, is it okay to also pin to a board you have on the same subject? Is that weird? Should you space it out?
Wow, this is great because Jeff may remember I actually asked that question on Google Plus, and I pinged all of my Pinterest buddies. What are you doing? And actually, my question was a little different, Kim. My question was, do you post it on your board first or on the group board? And believe it or not, the jury is still out on that because I got varying answers from people. But to answer your question directly, Kim, both. Absolutely, post it on both.
Right.
And yes, space them out if you can. If you don't have time at that moment, or if you haven't got got accepted for a Tailwind app yet or Ahology, just go ahead, do them both at the same time. It's okay.
Now Vincent said, and I need to double check this, but if you'll notice on his stream, he posts all at once, and he says that now the Pinterest algorithm is enough that when you're going through your stream, it's not going to show up that if you're following Vincent and some of his group boards, it's not going to show up like 50 pins at once. And so he's putting on them all out there at once. Now I haven't tested that myself, so take it for what it's worth. But that's what I know Vincent is doing, and I usually trust what he does because he's.
You know what, Jeff? Ditto. I'm right with you. I heard Vincent say that. In fact, I even have Vincent's book, and I listened to his podcast, and
right.
He's done a guest post on my blog, so he's my good buddy too.
Right.
And he said the same. I heard the same thing that you did, and I believe that that's true. But I wouldn't be able to test it out because I'm scheduling. I almost always schedule my pins.
Right.
Very rarely do, except for when I'm using Viral Content Buzz, because when you're using that, the thing about Viral Content Buzz is after you've pinned someone's pin, you have to copy and paste that URL back into the system so that it verifies you made that pin, so you can get your points, because it works on a point system. So that's the only time that I don't schedule. But now that that's why I said, if you can get with Tailwind app, and if you are a food blogger or fashion blogger, or you do anything related to children, apply for Ahology. You will absolutely love it. Now, the only difference is with Tailwind app, you can schedule things out in advance for days, in advance. With Ahology, it's mostly for that day. Sometimes it'll carry over to the next morning, but for the most part, the more stuff you put in there, they'll just decrease the time spans within, between the pins, and they'll all go that same day for the most part.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've talked about tools, and we've talked about YouTube, which if anybody hasn't watched Eileen's tutorials that she does her video tutorials, there's the mark you need to shoot for right there. She does a great job. So we talked about that, but let's also talk about Pinterest is really not a social network. People say it's not very social. They've tried to do things with messaging, and I think it's a step in the right direction. But you're a blogger, and one of the things to increase your reach, increase who you're talking to, is being social and commenting on posts and responding to comments on posts. So how do you recommend a blogger does that on Pinterest?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I don't think people should stress too much about the fact that, Pinterest isn't that social. Look at it this way. It's not our fault. It's the way the system is set up. And yes, they did introduce messaging, and I haven't got a lot of messages from people, but I got to be honest, for the most part, I was a little annoyed when I saw when someone messaged me. That's where, back to what I said about the cross promotion. You already have all these other networks where you can get with people, and if they say, yes, message me every time you want a pin, then do it that way. Right. But you need a place where you can actually talk and communicate a little bit more than what people want to read on Pinterest. Now, The other great thing about Tailwind app, I just love that app, can you tell? Is
Right.
that it's going on the very home page, it tells you comments. So right from Tailwind app, because a lot of times I'll miss them in my notifications, especially now because, I mean, I could log into Pinterest right now and I have 40, 50 notifications. I can't scroll through them all.
Right.
So Tailwind app will show you right on the home page the comments so you can respond. In fact, one time someone was chastising me about a group board. This is not really, because it was a healthy recipe group board, and I mistakenly
Pinned a
pinned
cupcake.
something that wasn't quite healthy. It was chocolatey. I liked it. And so they said, this isn't, a healthy, can you please remove? And I was like, oh my gosh. And they were right, because I know it's a health board, and I didn't, I wasn't mad at them or anything like that. But I missed that. But I saw it when I went into Tailwind app, and so I went and I deleted it. So, but don't stress over the fact that Pinterest isn't as social as, like Google Plus. In fact, you need a break from Google Plus and all that writing, don't you? Isn't that why you're on Pinterest?
That's right.
We just want to look at the pictures.
And I get great ideas too. And the thing with me is, I try to thank people who pin my stuff, especially if it's my content. I usually don't, with repins, I usually don't do anything about it. But my content, if I see it come in the stream, I'll usually take the time. If I see Eileen has pinned one of my videos, I'll usually go in there and say, hey, thanks, Eileen. But I'm like you, I don't stress if I miss one. I mean, I'll try to go back and fix it, but most of the time it's when I see it or I'm notified. But you're right, I don't think we need to stress too much about it. I do think there's some interesting things that creatively we might be able to do with Pinterest. If you had people who are subscribed to your newsletter and you could send them out pins before anybody else saw them, that might be something cool you could do with messaging. But I'm still kind of with you on the I want people who know me to message me. You don't want to get too crazy with messages.
And one more thing about the advantage of using Tailwind app, when you see that comment, you also are going to see what kind of authority that pinner has. You don't, you're going to see if they have 50 followers, then you're probably not going to break your neck to go unless you know them or just have the extra time or whatever. But if you've got a lot of comments there, you're going to want to comment back to the person who has 50,000 followers, or if they're Jeff C and they have like 20,000 followers, you probably want to say thanks.
Well, thank you. But yeah, that's some great advice. Yeah, you want to be as social as you can, but not to wig out and stay up all night trying to do something that really won't do much for your return on investment. So, we're kind of wrapping up to the end of the show.
Oh
no! It's been so fun, but we'll have you on again. I know we will. So, but I wanted to, what's some advice that would you give a new blogger just starting out how to maximize their time on Pinterest?
Yeah, I think when you're new, and especially if you're going to be new to Pinterest as well, spend more of your time on optimizing your profile. Make sure your description is good on your profile. Make sure that you have verified your blog and it's just a little snippet of code. It's not hard. There's a billion tutorials out there for how to do it. And you also want to maximize and optimize your boards and make sure that those descriptions are good. Try to, like I said, connect with someone else that has a group board, and that way you can get in. It'll give you kind of a jump start because you only have 200 or 300 followers, but if you get connected with a group board, you're going to see your follower count go up quickly as long as you're pinning good stuff. That's why I gave you guys all those resources. Yeah. So that's what you want to do. And also on your profile page, make sure your best boards are up at the top of the page. Make sure that each one of those boards has at least 5 pins, because when somebody sees it on desktop, they're going to see the cover image or the cover pin, and they're going to see at least 4 little thumbnails. So you want to have at least 5. But I would say have even more than that for every board. If you have to make your board secret until you get like 10 pins on there, then do it that way and then make it public.
Great advice. I asked this about I think about all my guests I've had on here, but what are some mistakes that you made when you first started using Pinterest?
Oh, just ignoring it. And I did. I found out that when I started learning more about, the SEO benefits and all that, I went back and I updated all those board descriptions, especially the board descriptions. And this is another tip to give people. When you name your board, don't always try to be cute. I mean, it's nice to be cute, like stuff I like. Yeah, but nobody's searching for stuff you like. So you don't want to name your board stuff you like. You might want to name it blogging stuff or food stuff. You know what I mean? But you don't. So I was making that mistake, and I wasn't really paying my descriptions that much attention as well. So, and I found that also with the group boards, some of the group boards have like way too many rules. Like one group board had a rule of only one pin every 24 hours. Huh? I can't count which pin board I pin to in 24 hours. Right. And so don't go overboard. If you're starting a group board, don't go overboard with the rules. Of course, you don't want somebody to pin 20 pins in a row or something like that, or you don't want them hogging your board, but so those are some of the mistakes that I saw others as well as myself make in the beginning. But I think that pretty much now everybody should know those descriptions, the names of your Pinterest board, and make sure your profile is up to date and verify your site with Pinterest.
Yeah, I think Tailwind doesn't. I like Tailwind because it actually will go through my boards and it tells me, oh, you need to finish putting out this description, or you need to categorize it correct, change the category. So that's really helpful for me when I had been doing it for a while and I had forgotten some, so that was helpful.
Right.
And not having those cutesy names. I mean, I think some of my most popular boards are like Pinterest tips. That's one, and SEO, and like I have one just called Geek, and everybody goes to that and pins stuff. I mean, so the symbol of the boards and not being cutesy with the names, I think, does make a big difference.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up about Tailwind app. I almost forgot about that. Thanks.
Yeah, that was really cool for me. So, one last question from our audience, and it's from Roxanne. She goes, "Will you give a good site to explain posting blogs on Pinterest? I haven't done that yet. Fairly new blogger. Thank you." Roxanne, Eileen is a great place for you to go and look at her tutorials and how blogging and Pinterest works together. She's got a great guest post there by Vincent that really can walk you through some stuff. So it's that's where I would start, is what Roxanne would be, Eileen's blog. So we'll make sure that I think that's in the event description. So go ahead and click on that and check that out.
Yeah, and a couple more that I want to say. The Canva blog, that's a great one. Also, I'm not going to say Tailwind one more time today, but for my last time of saying Tailwind, they have a great blog. Also, Picora, I believe is the name of it. They are more on an enterprise level. They do analytics, but they even have some fantastic webinars, and I've sat in on quite a few of them, and they have some awesome downloadable PDFs. And there's another great Pinterest blog. Of course, Cynthia's Oh So Pinteresting, and Vincent's blog, Vincent Ning. I think it's MCNG. Marketing. Yep. Yeah. And one more that I want to say is Maximize Social. That's Neil Schaefer.
Right.
He has a great blog, and there's a lot of fun Pinterest articles on that blog as well. I follow that blog and pin a lot of their stuff. He's got great pins.
He does. Okay, last question. This is the Manly Pinterest Tip Show. So, do you have any advice for guys who are getting started on Pinterest?
Yeah, I know, because, like I said, I do a little social media at work, and because we sell, or we're a publisher of technical journals, there's a lot of construction type things and aviation, and when it comes to cars, I have some car boards that, that are like, really doing well. Transportation, trains,
Right.
planes, and automobiles, that kind of thing, and even men's wardrobe items are great. I have the one board at work that's for concrete and cement, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to find stuff, just a couple floors here and there, but the architectural design boards that are out there are wonderful. And I also, because of it being concrete and cement, I just so happened to stumble upon the topic of DIY concrete um, projects.
Right.
Oh, that's opening up a whole new world. I got pins galore because and it's great because it's it's the women that are mostly posting those projects, and a lot of them are really, really crafty, but it's great because that's going to draw them to that board. And even though, when construction, you think of men, and I like to draw men to the boards as well, but hey, we'd love to have women on our boards as well. So look into, the cars, planes, trains, and automobiles, and also the construction and the architectural things. And, paintball.
Yeah.
That's another one
Yeah.
that there's a big influx of. So if you're a man and you're interested in any of that stuff in men's fashion, so even if you're not a fashionable man, you need to be. Because there's going to come a time when you're going to have to go to that wedding or whatever. So you better hang out on Pinterest, and that way you can surprise your lady.
Well, there's more boards I think that men would like than they realize. So thanks for sharing some of those. Those are some great ideas. So Eileen, where can we find out about you and your services? I know we listed some, but go ahead and give a little shout out to yourself.
Okay, great. You guys come over to basicblogtips.com, and when you follow me on Pinterest, when you look for me, I have to spell my name because some people may get it wrong, but it's Ileane. You'll find me there, and then also my YouTube channel, which is Miss Eileen Speaks. If you could watch one of my videos, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, I would greatly appreciate it. And please, please let me know what you think about those goodies that I send, and I hope you enjoy them.
Well, thanks so much, Eileen, for being on the show. And as always, we'd love for you guys to head over to manlypinteresttips.com, click on the sidebar, subscribe to the email community, and you'll never miss on a great guest like we had with Eileen today. So we are continuing to add testosterone one pin at a time. See you next time, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye, guys. Thanks.